Hello, welcome back. It's Rob with Perfect Spiral Capital. Today I'm going to take a little different approach to my video, and I wanted to just open up a little bit about who I am and talk a little bit about my story and background in how I discovered the infinite banking concept. Not only that, I also would like to go through how I found this life-changing book and just how it really made a huge difference for myself and my family's situation and what that looks like in the future. Here's a little bit about me and a little bit about my story. Uh, I've always had an interest in finance ever since I was a kid, and I had tried to learn as much as I possibly could, especially through my teen years and getting into my early 20s, all about finance. And I had learned primarily through traditional channels, learning about all the conventional financial wisdom. One of the things that I found in opening up a 401k, opening my Roth IRA at the age of 20, doing contributions, doing those things, is that I had a couple of key takeaways. One is I couldn't keep an advisor for much over a few years, and then I would get transferred over to somebody else, which made it kind of difficult anytime I had questions. Secondly, none of my accounts seemed to do exactly the way that they were advertised to. Put in a few $1,000s or put in some money, and it grows exponentially by year 10, year 20, year 30. And now obviously I'm not that old to recognize it at 30 years, but the reality is it wasn't taking place the way that it should. And I knew that something was off. So fast forward a few years, and I had been doing a lot of my own investing and figuring things out on my own, and noticed that something was just off. So I sought out the best place of wisdom that I possibly could, and I really prayed. And in that prayer, I was asking for guidance, asking for wisdom, insight in my financial situation. And not just that, but also my career. Thankfully, God answers prayers. And shortly thereafter, I had listened to a podcast, and I actually heard from this gentleman there who was giving some really interesting information about things that were outside of the traditional financial system, things I had never really heard of before. And I quickly read his book and got in touch with him. And that just happens to be Luke Tatum, who's now my mentor at Perfect Spiral Capital. However, Luke had directed me to do was to read this book. And this is where it all changed for me. Reading Becoming Your Own Banker by Nelson Nash. And it's unbelievable what was contained in that book. It seems simple. It's 92 pages, but it's completely mind-blowing. It opened up and changed everything I thought about money. I decided to take the step forward and begin the process of becoming my own banker. At that time, I was probably saving maybe 8% of my income per year. And for reference, that was actually better than the average. I didn't know that. But the average person only saves somewhere around 4%, I think is some of the latest figures that I've seen. I thought I was doing pretty good. But when I really started to look at it and really started to understand things differently by reading Nelson's book and starting then to absorb other information, I noticed that there was a massive opportunity in that things might not go the way that I was hoping. So with that, I dug in. I started the process. I started the process of becoming my own banker. And fast forward a few years, my family situation is in a completely different state. And this isn't just local to me. I've seen this from other practitioners when they first started, but also I'm seeing it with my clients as well, where their financial picture is completely changing as a result of this awesome, amazing book. I can't recommend it enough that you go out, you get it, you listen to it. It's available on Audible as well. But the information contained there is just unbelievable. And when you start thinking differently, you start to see problems differently and you start to act differently. And that's really what happened. So one of the great things that this book has done, we've gone from having potential trepidation about the future to feelings of security and peace and not worrying about what's happening in the markets any longer. We've also gone from saving around 8% of our income to over 34% of our income, all because we've started our own bank. We've started this concept of becoming your own banker, and we're redirecting those cash flows into a system that we own and control. And as a result, we're able to free ourselves of the 35% problem. Those who are not familiar with it, I do have a separate video about the 35% problem, but that's where 35% of the average person's income after taxes is going to fulfill some sort of interest for a bank or third party. And this system has allowed us to recapture a lot of that and put ourselves in a completely different space. Now, the reason I'm making this video isn't to talk about me and my situation. It's to use that as an example to tell you how important this book is for your life. I want that for you. I want you to experience the same level of freedom that my family has been able to achieve by implementing this concept. Not only that, it's the amazing power of knowing that that future state for my family is cared for. My family now has a level of security for the future that we never thought possible. And it's because of this process and implementing it that is giving us completely different hope on what the future holds for us and what capabilities we are going to have in our own financial space. Building a new home, taking vacations, different things are now available to us that maybe were really a stretch in the past, or perhaps we even had to go into debt for. Now we don't have to worry about that. Something that came up at the recent Nelson Nash Institute think tank for authorized infinite banking concept practitioners like myself, I heard a great piece of advice in that if you knew or you had knowledge that could benefit others, why would you sit on it? And that's one of the reasons I'm making this video. This book, because it's of the way that it's changed my life and my financial future, I want other people to know about that. I want to help other people take that step forward in what they do and be able to have that level of freedom that my family has had. If $20 and 3 hours is all that separated you from a completely different financial picture in your lifetime, what's holding you back from doing it? I went through that myself. And you know what? I'm so glad that I did. It has completely changed my personal outlook and the outlook for my family, my children, and the future generations to come. So with that, I hope that you found this video valuable today. I hope that more than anything else, it has inspired you to go out and get a copy of Nelson's book. You can also reach out to me. I'd be happy to arrange to get you a copy. If you find it interesting, let's set up a time and let's talk about it and see if it's going to be right to implement in your situation as well. Thanks for your time today. Please feel free to check out all the other videos on my channel, and I hope to talk to you again soon.